Hey guys, how's it going? Okay, hey, hi. Think I think this is working. Um, sorry for the delay. Okay, that's working. All right, three or four different problems kind of cropped up at once as I was starting up the stream, so I had to suddenly get the mic to start working with OBS, which is like an easy problem to fix, but has never happened before. And then the key wasn't working, so I had to copy it over from YouTube and put it into OBS. And again, that does happen sometimes, but it's pretty rare. But it was a confluence of problems that led to hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and we're here to talk all things Spawn. I have with me issue number 311, and we are going to kind of zero in on this book and its story arc in the next two issues, 312 and 313, all kind of dealing with this. Well, the plot of it's called Omega Cult, but it's actually much more about different spawns and this whole change in the franchise. And I would say much more broadly and more specifically, this review is about, as the thumbnail says, the future of Spawn, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And I just happened to have this book and was like sitting on this story arc as something I did want to talk about. But then all this interesting news also came out about Spawn. And in many ways, this review is, well, it's this video, I should say, is much more about that. It's not so much a review, I would say, as a discussion on like my thoughts on Spawn in general, because we've never done that before. I have some thoughts and would like to share them on the whole franchise, but also the latest direction and iteration of the books and where they're going from here. That honestly has me pretty excited. I think there's really something to all of this. And, well, let's talk a little bit about why. So, for those of you that don't know, Spawn is an Image series and a very early one at that. It's by Todd McFarlane, who's a pretty cool guy and is, well, oh, where do I even begin? I'm just bringing up something here. So, I don't want to claim that I know Todd. I just wanted to kind of get this right. But I know like of him through a friend of a friend because he's Canadian, and of course, all Canadians do know each other. But he's way far from me because for those of you that know, I live in central Ontario, well, southwestern Ontario, I should say, and he lives in Calgary. So look that up on a map if you have an idea of how like far away he is. But uh, I think I did get a chance to like get some questions forward to at some point or another or something like that. So like I said, I really don't know the guy, but he's been around for a long time and has this big history with comics going back into the 90s and even before that. And he is a very cool artist, but also this interesting writer who's created Spawn, which is a very interesting franchise in and of itself. Because on the one hand, it's kind of this interesting and gritty, like overly artsy or like very art heavy kind of character, very almost typical of the 90s with like the big flowing cape that will just take up entire pages and over the top action and darkness kind of stuff that is synonymous with the more stereotypical books of the age. But if you read a Spawn comic now, it ain't that. The book, like the best of long running things, has changed with the times, and its sensibilities have changed quite a bit with it without abandoning the classic iteration of Spawn. So, for example, I was just idly on this page here, where we got like Spawn, with his cape filling up the whole page. So it's still him, but there's layers going on now, and all these other things that remind me actually kind of the sort of thing that Marvel and DC does these days, and it's actually really related to this guy right here, this pilgrimy Spawn fellow. Oops, I'm trying to get more in frame. There we go. And other characters like that are introduced over the course of the Omega cults and have been kind of cropping up ever since Spawn futzed around with some time portal back in issue 300. I do have to say I'm not some expert on Spawn. I like have seen various iterations of him. I've played him on Mortal Kombat 11. I've seen that old movie and some of those animated clips, which I don't really know the full context of where they were made from, but they look cool. Uh, was his face is an amazing voice for Spawn. I'm blanking on his name. Dr. Facilier and the Princess Frog and a million other... Keith David, right? No. Yes. Now I gotta check. Well, apparently they're making another movie, which is pretty cool. That's an important part of all this too. But the other side of it is that like he also has a big future as like this comic book character, and Todd McFarlane wants to use all these new Spawn characters to really grow it. Oh yeah, it is Keith David. Okay, I didn't want to get that wrong. That dude's awesome and one of the best voices out there. um, but also, so there's been announcements of new series with Spawn, and the way Todd McFarlane was talking about it in this interview is he wants to kind of grow it into a franchise with like the level of complexity and depth to it that Marvel and DC have, but with a much more independent franchise. I think that's very interesting. So we have these characters like Gunslinger Spawn and all these other figures that I really think will be cool when you have other comic book writers seemingly eager to take on this role along with McFarlane, like Donny Cates and a bunch of others. Uh, whether or not this idea pans out or this is just McFarlane blowing out some steam, we'll have to see. But I like the potential, and I do have to say, this is the kind of blind ambition McFarlane had when he created Spawn in the first place. Because he kind of set out to be like, I want to just create my own superhero that's like as cool as Batman. And Spawn is kind of his own thing, but I would argue in many ways he has that potential. He's kind of like there's a very big similarity in the character I feel to Ghost Rider mixed in with Batman, and you can kind of gripe about the originality in that, but I think McFarlane gives the art and the idea of Spawn such originality that it is its own thing, and he's a very creative dude, which we're seeing right now. The Omega Cult also features a bunch of stuff with like Spawn having basically created these Hellspawn beings that are these terrifying looking demons, but he's also kind of looking out for them and they seem to really care about their creator. I seem to be getting some connection issues going on, but I think it's all pretty interesting. And yeah, we haven't really talked about Spawn before, so I'm not really sure what kind of viewer interest we have out here. So depending on how you guys feel, let me know in the comment section below and stuff. But personally, I think there's a lot of potential in the future. And with that is like really cool artwork. We have this really interesting Chadwick Boseman alternate cover to 311, which I don't have. I have this one, which is right there, of course. But the Boseman one apparently like had some record-breaking sales and stuff, and so Spawn really is throwing some pretty heavy weight, 300 issues in, which is impressive. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, kind of gauge what viewer interest is in Spawn, because it's a cool character. I got a little bit of a nah shucks friendliness to it because yeah, obviously I don't know McFarlane, but I definitely have like a little bit of this, we'll say, patriotic affinity towards comic books created by other Canadians or other characters created by Canadians. That's true of Superman, kind of, and the Spectre. So that's all interesting. But yeah, that's all I really had to say. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time here on Comic Island.